Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this another Saturday live stream where we're going to be checking out a machine we don't see very often. And I'll be starting in just a few minutes. I've got a couple other things to take care of real quick, and then we'll be jumping into this straight away. If you're not familiar with the New Home Sewing Machine Company, let me tell you a little. They actually didn't start as the New Home Sewing Machine Company. They started as the Gold Medal Sewing Machine Company right around 1860. And about 1882, the company was reorganized and renamed the New Home Sewing Machine Company. It was one of a number of companies that started after the, as they referred to it, the disorganization of the Singer, Wheeler and Wilson, Grover and Baker sewing machine combination in 1877. Basically, there was a coalition of big boys that came together, and then they were forced to separate because they were it created an unfair advantage in the marketplace. And New Home started kind of modestly. They were right around 1878. The company was selling about 48,000 sewing machines a year. And by 1879, they were up to about 55,352. And then by 1880, they were making about 400 a day. So if any of you are mathematicians and you want to calculate 365 days a year times 400, you can type it into the live chat as to their exponential growth in producing sewing machines from a very modest starting of about 48,000 machines. And you might wonder, as you're looking at this opening shot, I'll put on a little bit more music. And I opened, by the way, many of you know this already. I opened, by the way, with the Star Spangled Banner because we are on the eve right now of the 21st anniversary of September 11th, 9/11. And if any of you are incredibly young, very, very young, maybe born after 2001, then you're saying, 9 what? September 11th, what? What's the significance about that? Well, tomorrow morning, rather early, right around 8:45 Eastern, which is 7:45 my time. And I'll stop showing you here, Obermeister, for just a second here. Hold on a second. Let me get back to a shot where I can see which way the camera's angling. Okay, so tomorrow morning, right around 7:45 my time, Central Time in Wisconsin, I'm going to be doing a special little memorial for September 11th, 9/11. And I'm going to be showing you, and some of you have seen this in the past, I'm going to be showing you some original photographs that I took at Ground Zero probably about 6 months after the events happened. At the time, I was serving as a police and fire commissioner just north of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and was sent there unofficially by that city to represent the city and to be a source of encouragement, a source of inspiration to the folks out in New York, particularly the firefighters and the police officers that had just gone through hell with those events about 6 months earlier. And I went there with not much. I went there with a little bag that I threw over my shoulder, kind of launched there rather without a lot of planning. And I had a couple of change of clothes. And then I had these tiny little lighthouses that you'll see that I handed to a number of New Yorkers, including firefighters and police officers, to lift them up and to encourage them. And the city that I was serving at the time as a police and fire commissioner, their symbol was the lighthouse. So it was kind of going as an ambassador on behalf of that little town to encourage the New Yorkers. So if you want to check that out tomorrow morning, it's going to be an early morning, especially for our West Coast people. It's going to be, I mean, ridiculously early. Otherwise, you can watch it later. But I'm just going to go through those photos. I'll talk a little bit about my trip there, describe some of the images that I took, and we as a nation, as a world, can remember that even when evil like that strikes and takes so many lives, over 3,000 people perished. We can, like the phoenix from the ashes, we can rebound and come back even stronger, much to the chagrin of those that hoped it would just totally disable this country and disable New York and the other places that were affected as well. So, anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let me go back to some music. I've got to do something else real quick right now. You can kind of watch Herr Obermeister, watch him and see if he moves. You never know. The magic of the workshop, right? And then we'll launch into some sew-offs on this really cool machine, which I didn't mention. Why is Herr Obermeister there? It is because this particular machine has manufacturing roots that go back to Germany. New Home and a number of other companies at one time or another had manufacturing that was outside of our country, Germany and certainly other places in the world. And this is one of those machines. And the way you can tell, and I'll show that to you when we walk around this machine, the way you can tell is the stitch length controller is marked with a V on top and an R on the bottom. And you might say, well, what's the R means reverse, right? And what about the V? Well, I'll talk about that a little bit later when I walk you around the machine. But this machine was set up so that it could be used anywhere in the world, but was specifically set up and manufactured in the great country of Germany. That's why Herr Obermeister is here. So there you go. All right. So let me put on a little bit more music real quick. I'll say a couple of good mornings to Paula Noel out in West Palm Beach, Florida, and say good morning to Susie over there in the great state of Minnesota. And I don't know, Gumpy Mike, some of you that are more in tune with the live chat, you might be looking at Gumpy Mike and going, regularly, where have you been, Scott? Well, I've been involved in watching these live streams and doing different things. And sometimes I don't see all the folks that are a part of the live chat. So welcome to Gumpy Mike as well, which is kind of a fun name, isn't it? Who else? Anyone else? I think I hopefully greeted everybody. And in just a few minutes, we'll jump into this, and you'll be able to see this machine do its magic. And you don't see these a lot. You don't see the Greyhound. Sorry about that, Herr Obermeister. You don't see the Greyhound Model Ks very often at all. And I'll show you some before shots as well. Not a lot of them, but I'll show you some before shots of where this machine started. And well, you can pretty much see where it's at now. I'll give you some other looks of it so you can just see how beautiful this machine is. All right, a little bit of music. Also, a quick greeting to Renee from Oconto, Wisconsin, who, if I remember correctly, Joelle is from California, right? If I'm wrong, Joelle, but I believe Joelle is from the great state of California. All right, a little bit more music, and I've got to just do something really quick. Yes, that was me on the harmonica. You want to try it? Here. He's playing really, really quiet. You can't hear him, but he is playing. I don't know if anyone else has ever tried the harmonica, but man, I'm not. I'm not a camper. I'm just confessing that to the world right now. But what a great instrument to have in your pocket if you're at, a campground and you're sitting around a fire or something like that. So that's kind of cool. All right. So I think I've greeted everybody that's in the live chat, at least right now. And so let's take a little bit closer look at this machine before we launch into some sew-offs. And I'm going to move Herr Obermeister to the side. All right. What did I do? Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm kind of stealing my own thunder here, aren't I? I'm stealing my own thunder by showing you the finished product of this machine. And I should also make a confession to you and tell you that the base that this machine is mounted in is not the correct base for this machine. It's one of my bases that's actually designed for a Singer 66. It fits a number of the other Singer models. And it's got this cute little cubby over here, and you can put one of those bentwood covers over the top, and it's just a gorgeous, a gorgeous thing to look at. It's quite amazing. But this new home that, again, was made in Germany does not sit level. Matter of fact, it's real tippy, super duper tippy. And so I didn't want to send this off to the customer who is Mary from, oh gosh, I'm going to try to pronounce it. It's Nubinway, Michigan. Someone want to look it up and tell us something about this this city in Michigan? It's spelled Naubinway. So Naubinway, Nubinway or something like that. But that's where Mary is from. It's a good distance from here. And she traveled in last year with this machine. And then also, you may not be able to see it, but over there, you see that white case over there sitting by the German machines? That white case over there contains a Husqvarna Viking Model 21E. And she brought both of those machines. And she's told me already that when she comes this week on the 14th, I believe it is, she's going to be driving in and coming to pick up this new home, and then also coming to pick up the 21E that I just gave you a little shot of across the workshop floor. And then she's dropping off 3 more machines, one of which I believe is a featherweight. So that's where I say to folks, I feel like I take some steps forward, right? I make some progress, which is really great. I've got my blue ones on today. I make some progress and I'll get, 2 or 3 machines done. And then 2 or 3 more will come to the workshop that are shipped here. Then customers will come by way of Joanne. Used to be called Joanne Fabrics. Now it's just Joanne's, but they come by way of Joanne's. And then folks will drive into the workshop as well. I just had someone drive in from a great distance, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours away. They've come further than that. But the point is, I go 2 steps forward, 3 back, 3 steps forward, 4 back. So that's why it takes a while to get machines turned around. There's just a constant flow of machines coming to the workshop, which I'm very grateful for. Very grateful to be blessed with being so busy. But, it's just, I might have to build on. Yeah. So, but a little bit more about this new home. Let me tell you about this machine while we listen to some more good music. Okay. So this is obviously a straight stitch only machine. It's not a free arm. And again, it's balanced right now in this temporary base so that I can do these sew offs on it today so that Mary can see this machine go from a rust pile, literally, to just a thing of beauty, something that looks like it could go into a museum somewhere and become a showpiece for people to go, holy cow, what a gorgeous machine, having no idea where it started, having no idea how it began. But again, if we take a look at this stitch length controller, I'm going to kind of point the camera that way. This controls stitch length. So if you want to sew forward on this machine, hold on a second, a little bit further down. Volume was up too high in the music. I love this song though. So if you want to sew forward on this new home, you have to move the stitch length lever all the way to the very top. And then you can be generating about 6 stitches per inch. As you bring it down like so, you can go into the satin range and be right around 20 to 30 stitches per inch. As you move below this 0, which might be kind of hard to see, let me turn my little light on too. As you move down to this 0, right there, once you move below that range, you're going to be sewing in reverse. And again, when you look at this machine, it has an R on the bottom. It might be a little bit hard to see in the shot. The R is right there. The V is right up here. Hold on a second. There we go. So up here, there's a V when we're sewing forward, and there's an R when we're sewing in reverse down here. And the R is no big surprise, but it means something totally different than you might think. The R actually stands for Rückwärts. Rückwärts. It sounds like something from Harry Potter, doesn't it? So in German, reverse or backwards means Rückwärts. Almost sounds like something to eat, like Kielbasa or Bratwurst, but it's spelled R and then U, but then the U has 2 little dots above it, which is called an umlaut. And then it's CKWA, another umlaut, and then ARTS. So RUCKWARTS. So when you look at a machine like this, the novice that's not real smart like all of you in being in this classroom looks at that R right there and goes, oh, duh, that means reverse. It does, but in German, it's Rückwärts. 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 I'm going to get notes from my friends in Germany saying, not bad, Scott, but this is how you really say it. I'm doing my best. So Rückwärts is reverse. And then up here is that weird little V, which there's no way the average person would look at a V and say, oh, that means forward. Duh. In German, the V means Vorwärts. Vorwärts, which is VORWA umlaut, WA umlaut RTS. Let me say that again because I goofed it up. So the V on this new home doesn't, it means Vorwärts right here, the little V. Vorwärts, VORWA umlaut. I always want to say the A twice. Why is that? Let me try it one more time. Take 3, Scott. Take 3. So it's VORWA umlaut RTS. I finally got it. So VORWA umlaut. The umlaut again is the 2 little dots above a letter in German, and it gives it an U sound. U. And then RTS. So Vorwärts means forward in German. And then again, the R down here means Rückwärts is reverse in German. You're not going to be tested on this, but isn't it neat to know? So if you stumble across a machine somewhere, you're out and about, and all of a sudden you see a machine that's labeled with a V and an R, it's going to tell you straight away that machine was manufactured over in the great country of Germany. The great country of Germany. And you might even remember, or you can Google, okay, what did Scott say reverse is? Oh, yeah. That's right. Rückwärts. What is that forward thing again? Oh, yeah. Vorwärts. And there's other ways to say forward in German as well. Nach vorne. Nach vorne is another way to say forward in Germany. It's Nachvorne is also forward in German. So, at any rate, blah, 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 blah. There you go. So again, a more distant shot of the machine. This is our stitch length control. Very easy machine to operate. And then you got our bobbin winder over here, which when we look at some of the before shots, it looked nothing like that. It's really quite lovely now. And if you're going to wind a bobbin, you come off the top spool pin right here, and then you have to come through this thread guide right here, and then through these tension discs right here, and then you come down to the bobbin that goes right on here, and then you have to rotate this into the balance wheel and lock that in place. And this part right here would go right between the bobbin spacer point, so that as the thread fills, ideally, but not always, it's going to push this away and disengage the winder. And of course, you're going to disengage the clutch on the side before you wind a bobbin so that that needle isn't moving up and down, especially if you're threaded up. And then there's a tiny little obscure adjuster right here. If you can kind of see that little thing I'm pointing at, it requires a very small screwdriver. See if I can find one. It requires a very small screwdriver, and you can either turn it left or you can turn it right. And what it does is it screws in to push this away so that you can fine adjust the distance between the bobbin winding tire and the balance wheel. This is the adjustment for it on this German-made New Home. You turn it in or you turn it out, depending on if you're making good contact or if you're making too much contact to that balance wheel and it's putting an excessive load on the motor. So, I mean, that's a quick walk around. It's not a super complicated machine. Over here, you're going to have a standard type presser foot adjustment right here. When you screw this down, it's going to create more pressure against your material, which is what you want if you're sewing multiple layers or if you're sewing something a lot heavier like leather. You increase this, and then as you're going with lighter stuff like Paula Noel's Kona cotton, this stuff that we're going to stitch off on today, or even my basic cotton, which is, you know, kind of a basic fat quarter type cotton like you might get at Walmart or Joann Fabrics. It's got a stiffener in between. If we're sewing the lighter stuff, they're going to back off this presser foot pressure so that it's not pushing down as heavily. And then the only other thing I'll show you real quick, and then we'll jump into some sewing with this machine, is how you thread this machine. It's a little bit tricky, I guess. And it would be confusing to some folks because you have a thread guide on this side of the faceplate as well, which in a pinch can be used for threading the thread and then going across the front like I've shown you on other machines in order to wind a bobbin. But on a regular threading on this machine, you're coming off the top. And many of you have seen this already. This is that trilobal embroidery thread by Coats & Clark. It's probably a 40 weight thread. Quilters, applique sewers, and other folks love this thread because it's just a beautiful thread when you see it on the final product. So we go through this thread guide right over here. I'm going to look over my shoulder, seeing if you can see that. Yeah, I think you can. And then we drop down to the tension discs, and always make sure your presser foot lever is in the up position when you're threading any upper tension. So the thread comes between those discs, and it's going to come around the front and go through our take-up spring, or our check spring, as some people refer to it. You can kind of see it right there. Yeah, kind of wiggling it for you. And then you're going to come up to your, from there, you're going to come up to your take-up arm right here. Then we come across the faceplate through that thread guide. We finally come down here to this thread guide just adjacent to the needle. And then we're going to thread this machine from left to right. And when you're inserting and setting your needle, make sure that you set the needle with the flat side to the right. the way the book describes it, and it's kind of cool. Let me just set the camera down for a second. It's kind of cool that Mary, again from Michigan, the little town or the big town of Nobbinway, Michigan. It's kind of cool that she has an original owner's manual for this Model K. These are really hard to come by. And you can see that New Home in its final phases was based in Orange, Massachusetts, but they certainly had manufacturing locations elsewhere, including Germany. And this Model K will describe in setting the needle as putting the long groove. When you look at a needle, it's going to have a long groove and then it's going to have a scarf on the opposite side. The scarf is that little indentation that's just above the eye of the needle. And you want to set that long groove to the left and the scarf to the right when you set the needle for this New Home Model K. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, if what I've covered so far, you're not totally lost and you're going, yeah, this is good. This is helpful. Put a smiley face or a thumbs up or whatever you want to put in live chat. That would be great. That way, I know I've done a decent job of explaining it. What else? What else? What else? That's about it. That's about it. It's not a super complicated machine, which is great. And again, right now we've got it kind of precariously balanced in this base because, again, it doesn't set level. And I'm hoping that it doesn't do anything weird when we're doing these sew-offs today, because we're going to be doing some fairly heavy-duty sew-offs. And, hopefully it doesn't tip into the base or something else. It's not going to fall off the workbench, but I might have to reposition it again to get it, level and to get it so that we can sew with it. But, it's either do this or it's, just send it back with Mary and then she doesn't have a chance to see it on the big screen doing its little dance. And you might be saying to yourself, okay, what's the deal? Why won't this German-made New Home Model K Greyhound, you see the cute little dog in the middle, why won't this machine mount in this base? Aren't most bases pretty much universal? A lot of them are. And it all goes by the pin sets. In other words, on a base like this, there would be two mounting pins that you can slide the machine into. There's two little holes on the back of the machine that are built into the base casting. And you slide those little pins inside of this machine, and then you turn those little set screws, and it locks that machine in place so that it's safe. Whether it's a base or whether it's a table, it doesn't matter. Well, when this machine was made in Germany, rather than having a typical pin set distance from one center of the pin to the other is typically going to be about 9 or 9.5 inches. On this machine, it's about 8 3/4 inches. So the pin set is more narrow on this German-made New Home machine, which means it won't fit in an average base that you would expect it to be able to fit into. And I should have known that earlier on, but I discovered in the latter part of the restoration of this machine, and I had to reach out to the customer because Mary had gone to the effort. She wanted to make it really easy for me, and so she even went to a third party and ordered a base and shipped it to the workshop, only for us to discover later that it wouldn't work for this machine. It'll work for another machine that she has, but it won't work for this one because of that pin set on the back of this machine. So, like I say, sometimes a teacher always, type the word in the live chat for our new friends. Sometimes a teacher always a blank. And that just goes back to show even someone like me that's world renowned, and people contact me and they contact Bill and myself through Facebook, and they ask us very difficult questions. And we always are able to find the answers for them because we have Google. We have Google and we also have other research means as well. But the point is, we're always learning, aren't we? And that's the beauty of our classroom here, which I'm very belatedly ringing the bell to signify the beginning of class. But we're always learning, and we learn from each other too. I say that all the time. We learn from each other all the time, don't we? But this is a fabulous machine. It truly is. And now we can finally begin to put it to work a little bit. Yeah, finally begin to put it to work. So, and Susie had typed in the live chat "Kanai," which stands for constant and never-ending improvement. She couldn't be any more right. The word I was kind of poking at a little bit to get you guys to say is sometimes a teacher, always a student. We're always in a learning process, and that's what makes people appear really smart, and people start calling them experts. And that certainly has happened to me many years ago. They started, people would contact me and go, "Oh my gosh, you're so wise when it comes to vintage sewing machines." And I always tell them it's because I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And part of that learning process is from all of you as well, because all of us have different knowledge bases. All of us have different experiences. And smart people learn from other smart people. There we go. So, all right, blah, 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 blah. All right, so let's put on a little bit more music and let this machine stays stable in this base that it's not designed to be in. Let's see what we can do with this Model K Greyhound new home sewing machine from Deutschland, from Germany. Germany, Germany, Germany. All right. So you know what? Let me aim the camera over here at Harold Burmeister and the gang, because I've got this little pile of sew-offs that I've already prepared. Angle that down. I've got right over here, I've got saddle grade leather. I've got protected full grain leather, this blue stuff. And protected full grain leather is going to be processed with a coating to protect it from staining and to give it more durability. That's why it's called protected, the way they process the leather. And then the saddle grade leather is used for a number of applications, gun holsters, and some things relating to horses. I'm not really smart on horses. I'm sure some of the folks that watch this channel know a lot about horses and maybe even do sewing for that. And then over here, we got Kona cotton. We've got this 100% cotton that comes from a fat quarter. We've got this vinyl paper. I showed this to you the last time. And compressed felt, which again is not a normal felt like you would use in school. It's heat processed to make it really, really hard to get through. Then we got good old fashioned heavy grade denim. We've got this acrylic fiber, which is used for making awnings. Really, really hard stuff to get through. It's got a really high piercing threshold. And we've got some upholstery, commercial upholstery material, this stuff here. And what else do we have? Bubble gum material. We've got some of this. I had to pull this cork stuff out again because I got some good feedback the last time. It was kind of fun to sew cork. And, you can make some really pretty things out of cork, too. You can pick this up at the Dollar Tree. They sell like an 8x12 sheet of it, and you can cut it into whatever you want to cut it into. And then I really decided to be a rebel this time. So I haven't sewn this for a while. This is basically from, I think it's from a juice can. It's tin. And once in a while, I'll go crazy. And with one of the machines, I'll decide that I want to sew tin. And we'll probably sew it, back to back or something like that. And I'll be real careful so I don't scratch Mary's machine. But this is another material that we can potentially sew during this live stream today. Not a lot of people you'll find on YouTube or anywhere else sewing tin with a machine like this. So we just do extreme things, don't we? So I'm going to let you guys and gals look at this pile of sew-offs that I prepared and tell me, where do we start? What do you want to see first? And I can tell you one of the sew-offs I'm going to do, because I have fun doing it, is this larger piece of protected full grain leather. And we're going to be sewing it to the 1812 overture like we've done before. But all the other ones are up for grabs. So I'm going to look at the chat, see if anyone has chimed in already and says, start with this, and then do this. And maybe give me a little pecking order of 1, 2, 3 of what we're going to sew on Mary's Model K that was made in Germany back in the 1940s. Yeah, I think it was 1940s. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so what are you guys thinking? The cottons. Oh, and hello to Emma as well. And Emma is joining us from work today. You know, shh, quiet. She's at work right now. And Emma works in Southern Florida at a hospital. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to give away all of her secrets. So the dedication of all of you, even joining on a busy, weekend, is always so much appreciated. I'm really encouraged by your presence. So thank you for doing that. And thank you to Emma for joining us from work today. She is, I'll give one more secret away about Emma. She is in the healthcare field and works as a pharmacist. She works as a pharmacist. I'm whispering it to keep it like a semi-secret. Yeah. Because, if you say anything in earshot of Mr. Bean, he tells everybody about it. He tells everybody, you're a blabbermouth, Mr. Bean. You just are. Yeah, you are. So we're going to sew one of the cottons. I think Susie typed that in first. I would like to see you add a piece of cotton with and then without batting, so I can see how you adjust tension if it needs to be. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Paul. Let's do that. So I'm going to add one more thing to our sew-off pile here, and that is some basic cotton. I'll probably grab a piece of my 100% cotton that comes from a fat quarter, and we're going to without a stiffener, without batting, to see if we need to make adjustments on tension and tweak that puppy a little bit. So Joel is saying, I want to see cotton and then I want to see leather. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so let me grab some more cotton. I'll throw some music on real quick. Throw some music on. Hold on one second here. Let me change my shot here. Back over to the machine. All right, a little bit more music while I'm cutting something else. Oh, and I'll just show you real quick. When I got done with this machine, and I got to show you the shots too. This is 2 layers of probably about 6 to 8 ounces of leather. People that work with leather a lot deal with ounces more than they do thicknesses. But this is some of that trilobal embroidery thread by Coates and Clark going through 2 layers of protected full grain leather. And you can see beautiful stitching top and bottom with this leather. And this is not an easy sew off. This is pretty crazy difficult going through protected full grain leather. A single layer is enough, but I did 2 layers off camera, and we'll kind of duplicate that again with this real pretty trilobal embroidery thread. Lovely, lovely stuff. There we go. The camera's doing a lot better today. Though one of the last live streams we did, I was getting ready to wrap this thing with a hammer. I'm serious. It was just driving me nuts. So, and then I also did a little bit of stitching on, this is that 100% cotton with a stiffener in between. Again, just kind of checking, kind of like Paula Noel was alluding to, looking at that balance of stitching, because I started out over here. I was really weak on that top stitch. And then I started to pull it in and really get some nice definition, increase my pressure foot pressure a little bit. And by the time I got over on the right side here, we had a page 34 stitch. But we didn't start there. We started over here, and it was kind of like, ugh. Matter of fact, the stitch was a little bit stubby because there wasn't enough pressure foot pressure with this stiffener. And then I slowly honed it in. And again, for those of you that are in this live stream right now, if we start with a top stitch that is a little bit weak, like I had over here, and then we've got a stitch that's a little bit stubby. In other words, the stitch is not presenting at full length. We've got it set at the longest setting, but we're getting something shorter than that. What corrective measures would you take based on what we've learned together in our classroom if we start over here and we've got a stitch that's stubbier and we've got a top stitch that's not pronounced enough? In other words, it's not poppy, it's not defined. What are we going to do to correct it? Because from here to here, I didn't do anything with the stitch length controller. All I did was make adjustments to the upper tension, and I made adjustments to the pressure foot pressure. What do you think I did to take it from here over to here? All right, let me get some music. I thought I turned the music on. I thought I turned it on, but it sure isn't. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing it. There we go. Now we got music. All right, let me cut that other material real quick. Paula suggested. Jiminy Crickets, where's all my Mr. Bean? Have you been sewing again? Mr. Bean! Ah! All right, I'll be right back. All right, we'll go with this color. It's kind of a fun reddish raspberry color almost, isn't it? And then I'm going to cut it with 2 layers, and we'll try stitching this as well. And see what tension adjustments we have to make with no stiffener and no quilt batting in between. All right. And I've got to keep an eye on my time as well. I've got a colleague and friend of mine that's going to be visiting the workshop today. And he and I are going to be tag teaming. If you saw the video I posted on Facebook of some big industrial machines that were brought all the way in from Iron Mountain, Michigan. These scissors are getting really dull. See how it's fraying the material. I'll have to get some new scissors. Okay, that's kind of a crummy piece that I cut right there, but I think that'll get the job done. So this will be our 100% cotton with no stiffener and no quilt batting. I'm going to put that right over there. And I think the pick was we would try cotton. So we'll probably do all the 3 cottons I've got. We'll do the 100% cotton with no stiffener, no quilt batting. Then we'll do Paula's Kona cotton with quilt batting. And then we'll do my 100% cotton with a stiffener in between. We're going to be cotton crazy is what we're going to be. Yeah, we are. Oh, we all sang this song in school, remember? Johnny Comes Marching Home. We made up our own words to it, though. You know, the boys are always being naughty and making up words, right? The men will shout, the ladies will make sauerkraut, and they all will pay. Johnny comes marching home. Yes, the ladies made sauerkraut even back then. I don't think those are the original words. I doubt that they are. Yeah, doubt it. All right, so let's do our sew off with. We'll kind of do this one last because this is probably going to, as Paula has alluded to, this might require some adjusting. So we're going to do the Kona cotton, and then we're going to do my purple stuff, 100% cotton, and then we'll do this one last. Let me get that into position. The ladies will make sauerkraut and they all. Johnny comes marching home. Johnny's a marcher. That's what he is. Johnny's a marcher. Yeah, he is. Okay. And I know that Paula's probably already cringing saying, Scott, use my little clips. But the little clips that Paula sent me with this beautiful, let me show you, this beautiful sew off display. If you've never seen this before, Paula made this for me because the other one I have is a little bit more plain. And then she has these little clips right here, but they're metal. And I'm a little bit nervous to use the metal ones against this paint patina after I've restored it. Ooh, that's a fun song. So yeah, we'll probably display him on this, but isn't that beautiful? So many talents in our group, so many talents. Yeah. Okay, let's try this Kona cotton. And I'm not a quilter. Some of you are quilters, but I can tell you that Kona cotton is apparently, I mean, it's real fancy stuff. I should be wearing my tuxedo shirt when I'm sewing this stuff because it's real fancy. And I believe that Paula and I had found, or maybe I'm just making it up, but I think we had found that Kona cotton has roots that go back to Egypt somewhere. I have no idea. All right, here we go. And whenever you launch with any sewing, I'll just show you as a quick little tip again. Always make sure your take-up arm is at the highest position and it's beginning that downstroke. You're going to get the best launch when you're sewing. Let me put this cool music on pause real quick. All right, we're pausing the music so we can listen to Mary's 1949 German-made Model K by New Home. So let's give this a listen. We're going to kind of go through here, and I can tell you that this machine is powered by an American Champion motor that is rated at, trying to read it now. Hold on a second. I should have memorized it, but I have so many machines in my head. This Model K is powered by a Champion, which is a US made motor, and it's 1 amp. So it's got a lot of power. This machine has a lot of reserve power. All right, give this machine a listen and remind me that we've got to look at the before shots. All right, here we go. Oops. Guess what I did? I was showing you the stitch controller and I have it in reverse right now. Isn't that embarrassing? So instead of going vorwärts or nach vorne, we went rückwärts. We went reverse. All right, let's fix that. So let's not go reverse. Let's go forward. All right, let's try that again. Jimmy Crickets. All right, hold on a second. See, that's the fun of doing something live is you can't take it back now. Can't take it back. All right. Let's try that again. Once I can get my thread, this thread's a little bit slippery, or maybe my hands are dry or something. All right, let's give that a go again. So we're going to have a little stitch hiccup on the end here, and that's okay. All right, let's give that a go again. Yeah, you got to be careful when you're working with these German sewing machines that you have it positioned correctly. So now we're going to be sewing vorwärts or nach vorne, not nach vorne, excuse me, and we're not going to be sewing rückwärts. Yeah. All right. Whatever that means. I got no idea. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. Let's actually sew forward this time. Let's give forward a try. All right, here we go. Got to adjust my take-up arm again. There we go. Okay, now we're going forward. Let's try forward. All right. Stop laughing, Herr Obermeister. It's not that funny. Yeah, it is. It is kind of funny. Yeah, it is. All right. Here we go. Let's go forward. Hey, zoom. Here we go. Too many crickets. I'm knocking stuff over on the workbench and everything. Look at that. I knocked over Paula's stitch off thing. But again, it's because the machine is not mounted properly right now, and it's creating a little bit of excessive vibration. Hopefully we can get through this live stream without breaking anything. All right, let me take my little clips off. Give our thread a clip. Now that we're actually sewing forward. Oh, must be getting delivery. I'm not sure if you can hear it on the camera, but Hank is going nuts upstairs. It's probably UPS. Out of any of the delivery people, he likes UPS the least. Maybe it's the color of the truck. Yeah, maybe it's the color of the truck. So this is Paula's Kona cotton. I'll just give you a look at this. Actually, I'll put it on her display holder. Let me do that. All right. It's okay, Hank. It's only UPS. All right, let's see if we can get a shot of this. These are beautiful stitches, by the way. I'm hoping that I can show them to you. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. So beautiful top stitch. I'm going to see if someone's actually at the workshop. And I believe it is. Hold on a second, young. Just grab a railing. One down. I got a seat for you right here, Ken. We got a seat for you right here. Okay, everybody, sorry about that. Let me show you the rest of this Kona cotton. We already looked at the front side, and my friend is not wanting to be on camera, but this is a good friend of mine that does work with sewing machines. Has been doing it for over 40 years. And so I'm a kind of a newbie at this compared to him, and he's been a great mentor to me. So I'm going to turn this around now. We looked at the top stitch. I'm going to show you the lock stitch now on Paula's Kona cotton. Kind of get in real close. There we go. Look at the stitch quality, you guys. Just amazing. Beautiful stitch quality. And again, this first sew off we're doing with Kona cotton is with quilt batting. The next one we're going to do is 100% cotton, but we're going to be using instead a stiffener material. And then finally, we're going to be sewing the 100% cotton with no stiffener and no quilt batting at Paula's request from Florida. But folks, those are gorgeous, gorgeous stitches. And those of you that are new have no idea what I'm saying when I say page 34, but page 34 means that we have a near perfect stitch. It's absolutely gorgeous. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch, the balance between top and bottom is exactly as we want to be seeing. Exactly as we want to be seeing. So thanks again to Paula for sending this Kona cotton with the quilt batting pre-cut for me and everything, so I can use it in live streams like this to demonstrate the different machines that come through the workshop. So I'm gonna throw this to the side, and we're gonna launch into the next sew off with cotton. And this again is going to be 100% cotton. It's kind of a fat quarter style cotton that you can pick up at Walmart or Joann's or any of the other places. And in this instance, we're using a stiffener. So we're just trying cotton, sewing it with different ways and seeing if we have to make any tension adjustments to maintain really good stitch integrity. Okay, let me check the shot. Looks like we got a good shot. And if you look on the pillar right here, you can see that New Home even went to the extent of building their filigree and their decal sets with that K letter, so that right away you know it's a Model K from the 1940s. And again, this one was made in Germany by New Home. All right, so now we're going to do this 100% cotton with this stiffener. Oh yeah, welcome to RJS7. I'm not sure where you're from, but welcome to RJS7. So let's do this cotton now with a stiffener and see what we think of the stitch quality on this material setup, okay? And again, listen to the machine. Again, I've got it balanced right now in this base that's not designed for it because I don't have the right pin set on the bases to fit this German-made machine. It's going to be more narrow than most of the other pin sets. All right, here we go. And again, the setup we have today is we've got a size 9014 Schmetz universal needle, and we have that 100%. We have that trilobal embroidery thread by Coates and Clark. And so we're going to be really testing this machine because you know what? Most people don't use embroidery thread when they're sewing the wide field of materials that we're going to be sewing during this live stream. Now, taking a look at this stitching, you can see when you change material types, we went from Kona cotton with the quilt batting, and now we're using this stiffener with this 100% cotton. And you can see that our top stitch is not bad, but it's a little bit weaker. It's not quite as defined, which means we would have to do an adjustment on this of backing off the upper tension so that that top stitch is a little bit more pronounced. We turn it over, we're going to see a nicely defined lock stitch because right now that upper tension is pulling up harder than it needs to be pulling up. Let's see if I can move that up and down so you can see that. And again, if you go too high in the upper tension with that lock stitch, it's actually going to cause that stitch to get compressed. You're not going to get that full length of that 6 stitches per inch. It's going to make it a little bit stubbier. But again, a decent looking top stitch, but I would probably back off that upper tension just to give it a little bit more definition. But beautiful stitching, and what a beautiful thread to work with too. This trilobal embroidery thread by Coates and Clark. And again, my good friend Ken, that's been doing this a very long time, he works with a number of other threads in his workshop as well that he's really, really fond of. And I know one of them is Gutermann, which most of you are familiar with, a German-made thread. And I tend to go back and forth between Gutermann and the newer Coates and Clarks type threads. A lot of them they're making threads better now. So a beautiful sew off with this as well. And now we're going to move straight away into trying to sew this 100% cotton with no stiffener and with no quilt batting. And that does present a unique challenge because to get that stitching balance and to get that knot centered in between these two very thin layers, we might have to do a little bit of tweaking on that tension, which is what Paula was looking for from Florida. So let me get this into position. We'll try sewing down this 100% cotton with no stiffener, no quilt batting, and see how the machine does in maintaining stitch balance. RJS7, where are you from? Oh, you're from Racine, Wisconsin? Seriously. RJS7. Rick, my brother lives in Racine, Wisconsin. That's not you, is it, Rick? It is my brother. Hey, you guys, welcome my brother. I have one brother, Rick. I won't tell anything else about him other than Rick is from Racine, Wisconsin, which is where we grew up as boys. It's where our dad retired from the Marine Corps, and we settled there. My mom and her sisters were there and everything. And Rick retired from the Racine Police Department. And I got to give a shameless plug to him real quick, and I'm going to embarrass him a little bit because he doesn't like me to say this. But when he was with the Racine Police Department, he was on a drug raid on a SWAT team. And when they went into this house, they found this young man kind of cowering in his bed, and he was kind of hiding underneath the sheets. And they ended up arresting a number of people during this raid when he was in charge of this SWAT team. And he ended up giving the benefit of the doubt to this young man because this young man had burns on his hands from working in fast food and was really trying to make something of his life. And his mom was there as well, pleading his case. So Rick let him slide by, and he did the right thing in giving the benefit of the doubt to this young man. At any rate, long and short, this young man goes on to become a famous NBA basketball player. And I'm going to let Rick type in the live chat who this person is, because I never remember the gentleman's name. But now, over the last couple of years, Mark Wahlberg, everyone knows Mark Wahlberg, the actor, has taken an interest in this story and bought the rights to the story and is looking at doing a movie playing my brother from Racine, Wisconsin, RJS7. So Mark Wahlberg is going to play the gentleman, my brother, who's in the live chat today. How cool is that? That's really cool. Oh, you're not my... I went on that total rant and you're not I thought you were my brother, but you are from Racine. Oh boy. At any rate, all the other stuff I said is correct. My brother is going to be played by Mark Wahlberg in a movie, which is cool. It's really fun. Okay. Yeah, I thought I asked if this is my brother, and the person typed yes. But at any rate, miscommunication. It's like texting someone, isn't it? We don't always get it right. So, at any rate, watch for that movie. And it's called, I can't remember what the movie is called, but anyway, type in Google or something like that. Movies coming out with Mark Wahlberg, basketball star, blah, 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 something like that. Anyway, let me do this sew off on this 100% cotton, no quilt batting, no filler, no stiffener. Let's see how the machine does. And again, I probably should clip it to keep it a little bit more steady, let me clip it on this side, at least give us a start. And we'll get this running. And again, I'll leave the music off right now just so you can listen to this machine run. All right, here we go. Let me get past that. There we go. Perfect. All right. And it was more challenging when you're sewing something like this because, and that's actually fairly good balance. I'll show this stitching to you folks watching right now. So you can see the balance between the two layers. And I have to apologize to Ken off camera because he said I got to take care of some machines in my workshop and I'm probably going to be running later. So I started this a little bit before 9:30, I think, and I thought I'll be done before he gets here. Probably won't get here till 11:30 or 12 or something like that. Boy, was I wrong. So here's our stitch quality right here. This again is sewing those two layers of 100% cotton, no stiffener, no quilt batting. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Spacing, formation is right on. Looks really, really good. We turned over, we'll look at the lock stitch. And that's equally beautiful right there. The spacing, the formation is exactly as it should be. We could probably make a little bit of an adjustment of bumping the upper tension up because when you get a little bit of a tilting like that, where you see the stitch tilting up a little bit, that's telling you that the upper tension was not pulling up quite hard enough with this embroidery thread to keep it nice and straight and even. Our needle is doing an excellent job. Again, we've got a Schmetz 9014 universal, but sometimes that tension can, especially if you're sewing thinner layers of this, it can throw off that balance a little bit and that stitch alignment. So you get just a little bit of a tilt to it. But all in all, a beautiful stitch off. I don't think, Paula, on this one, you were curious if we'd have to make a tension adjustment. Maybe a little bit of a bump up on that upper tension to take that tilt factor away from that lock stitch just a little bit. But all in all, beautiful, beautiful stitch quality. Beautiful stitch quality. All right, let me throw that to the side. Kind of building our stitch off pile in the back a little bit, focusing on cotton right now. Ken, if you need to, in the drawer right here, I've got some screwdrivers and stuff if you're wanting to.
I know it's on.
Okay, okay.
But I need you though.
Got it.
But that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna do some leather now. There was a request to do leather. We did the cotton already. And then I'm going to, out of courtesy to Ken, I'm going to wrap up this live stream a little bit earlier. We have a lot of other materials we could sew. We could do acrylic fiber. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what, we'll do 3 more quick sew-offs, and then we'll wrap up this live stream. We've been running about an hour and 11 minutes already. I'm going to let you pick the final 3 sew-offs. So Ken has driven a good distance to come up to the workshop today, and we're going to be tag teaming on a commercial machine that's out in the overflow area. And then we're also looking at a FOF 1222 together. And why don't you folks pick the last 3 sew-off materials? We've got protected full grain leather. We've got saddle grade leather. We've got this vinyl paper. We've got compressed felt. We've got, what is this? Heavy grade denim, acrylic fiber, commercial grade upholstery material, bubble gum material, and then we have cork material as well. Oh, and also the tin. I've got the tin in the back as well. Well, why don't whoever types in the live chat first what you want to see sewn. And the saddle grade leather here I have is 2 layers. So that would be a fun one to do just to test the strength of this machine. Again, it's powered by a 1-amp motor. And so I'll look at the live chat, see what materials you guys want to see, and then we'll wrap this up sooner than later. Saddle leather, Emma's saying, Susie is saying leather. I don't remember what order I showed them to you in. So I've got saddle grade leather, protected full grain leather, Just Susie from Minnesota, clarify what you're wanting to see as far as the leather. We've got saddle grade 2 layers. We've got protected full grain leather as well. Okay, all right. So let's do the 2 layers of saddle grade first. Again, this machine is going to be vibrating around a little bit because it's not mounted in this base. It's just kind of balanced in there right now because the pin set on this German-made new home is more narrow than other machines that would fit like a pin-to-pin setting of 9 to 9.5 inches. So let's do this one. And again, we're using a universal needle, so it should be able to handle this leather okay. But this embroidery thread is a little bit of a test, isn't it? Because you generally use embroidery thread sewing leather, not typically. Let me kind of zoom in on that a little bit. We'll go through these 2 layers. Okay. And I'm going to try this without a hand start. We'll just try launching into it and see how this machine does. All right. 2 layers of saddle grade leather. Here we go. I just love the sound of this machine now that it's running so well. It's just got a wonderful little hum to it almost, doesn't it? Even with that vibration factor going through the case as it's kind of balanced and teetering on here a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. 2 layers of saddle grade leather, probably about 6 to 8 ounces of leather is what we're looking at. Let me get Paula's stitch off holder and or stitch off display, and we'll take a look at this real quick, see what you guys think. And again, I'll kind of show you a downward shot so you can look at the thickness of this leather. From a millimeter standpoint, let me get the camera real still. From a millimeter standpoint, we're probably looking at about 3, almost 4 millimeters of leather that this machine just went through. No hand start, just going after it. You know what I mean? And then we can look at the stitch quality. It really comes down to stitch quality, doesn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. Try to get the camera to focus just on there. So again, looking at these stitches, the spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch is just absolutely as it should be. Let me turn it over. Let's look at that lock stitch. Again, the lock stitch is always going to be a little bit more of a challenge, especially sewing leather like this with a universal needle because of the factor of getting that thread to come all the way back up through those 2 thick layers of saddle grade leather. And folks, that is a gorgeous lock stitch as well. Absolutely bang on. Gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. And again, look at those 2 thick layers of saddle grade leather. Again, a material that's used for gun holsters. It's used for a variety of different heavy applications when you're making different products and materials. Just amazing. All right, let's move on to this other piece of leather real quick, the protected full grain. And then I need to wrap up this live stream because my friend is waiting on me right now. And we need to jump into these other machines with the weekend and other things he has to do as well. I really appreciate his help in doing that. So protected full grain leather, again, a leather that's processed with a special coating to protect it from stains and also to give it more durability. We're going to go through these 2 layers of protected full grain leather. Again, the threshold on this is going to be equal to, or maybe even a little bit higher than saddle grade leather because of how it's chemically processed. And again, I'm going to try to do this without any hand start. And we'll see how this machine does. And again, whenever you're launching, always make sure your take-up arm is at the highest position and it's just beginning to go on that downstroke. So there's no mechanical binding of the machine, nothing holding the machine back. All right, so let me get this over there and we'll launch into this. And just a reminder for folks that are joining the live stream a little bit late, I'm going to be doing a special live stream tomorrow morning early to commemorate and in remembrance of the September 11th tragedy that happened back in 2001. This is the 21st anniversary of that. And I'm going to be showing pictures that I took at Ground Zero just about 6 months after it happened. May have been closer to 5 months, but I traveled there and I kind of covered that at the beginning of the live stream in more detail if you want to check that out. Okay, so saddle grade, protected full grain leather, 2 layers of this. Let's see how we do. Here we go. And that was me kind of going up and down on the foot controller a little bit. There was no hesitancy on the part of this new home at all. It's just amazingly strong machine. And I've talked about it before in other live streams. I'm not a big fan of stretch belts. I'm not a big fan of stretch belts. I like using belts that are fitted to the machine and then adjusting the bracket for the motor to get the belt just at the right tension so it's not putting too much load on the motor, but it's also not going to be slipping. The problem with this machine is that the motor, I can show you real quick over the top. The motor on this new home, maybe I can't show you. My camera's not quite long enough. Hold on a second. The bracket for this new home, instead of being mounted on the side of the pillar where I could adjust the motor up and down, this one is actually mounted to the base of the machine. And so it's bracketed and it's anchored on the bottom. And there's only a little bit of adjustment you can do on the set screws that screw into the back of the motor. So I've got a stretch belt on here just because of that. It's more cumbersome to adjust the motor on this machine. And a real heavy gauge type stretch belt as well. The other one that the customer had was dry rotted and it was starting to come apart. So, but let's look at these stitches and then we'll wrap this live stream up and let you get on with your weekend. So again, 2 layers of protected full grain leather, probably about 6 to 8 ounces of leather. I'm going to try to get the camera to focus on that so you can see that. Folks, those are beautiful, beautiful stitches. And you can see as far as the tension is set right now, there's no tilting of the stitches, the alignment, the spacing, everything about those stitches is exactly as it should be. And again, we're talking about 2 layers. Look at it from the side there. 2 layers of protected full grain leather, not an easy sew off, and yet this new home from 1949 made it look very easy. Here's our lock stitch. Again, the lock stitch is always going to be a little bit more of a challenge because it's pulling that thread, this embroidery thread, back up through those 2 thick layers of protected full grain leather. Absolutely amazing. Well, we didn't get all the sew-offs done that I had planned to do, and that's okay. Sometimes we have to change gears a little bit. I want to thank all of you for joining, including the gentleman from Racine, Wisconsin, who is not my brother, but I saw the R right away, and with my brother's first name being Rick, I thought, oh, that's Rick. But it's not. But at any rate, watch for that live stream tomorrow to commemorate and to do something special in remembrance of the 21st anniversary of 9/11, September 11th. The only other thing I'll do really, really quick, because I told you I was going to do it and I want to be a man of my word, is real quick, put on a little bit of music. Real quick, what I want to do is I want to show you those before after shots just real fast. And we'll look on this screen to see if I'm lined up correctly. I think I am. And I'll put the links of these before after shots in the description as well, so you'll be able to see them. It's a problem with live streaming. It's lagging on this other camera. So you see me with my little mask on, it's because there was a lot of dust and a lot of debris as I was trying to get all this varnishing and everything off of this machine. I'll go through these real fast, and then you can look at them at your leisure. But see all that junk on there? That's on the bottom of the machine, and it's going to slow this machine down dramatically unless that stuff is taken off. And it's a tedious process. I use a combination of dental tools. There you can see the paint patina before I took it to the paint shop and did a detailed clear coating and conditioned the paint. You can see it from where it is in this shot right here to where it is now. Night and day, night and day. But that again, if you want a piece that's going to be a treasure for your family, kind of an heirloom, you've got to go to that extent, don't you? There again, you see the flatness of the patina. Nothing to brag about, just really, really chalky and filthy. Also, all of the chrome pieces also had a combination of rust and varnishing on them as well. Bobbin winding assembly. There's our rear plate for servicing. That's the inside of the raceway. It had just, I mean, it looked like a rat's nest in there, literally. More, you can see the chromium pieces that are all just in a horrible state. There's the inside of the raceway where the magic happens, where the stitching is created, and you can see it's so crusted up, the machine would even barely turn. Feed dog area. And I'll go back one just to explain something real quick. You can see that this hook system on this 1949 new home is an oscillating hook system. So that little, if you're new to sewing machines and such, that little pendulum right there does not go full rotation. It rocks back and forth like a pendulum in order to complete this sewing process. Some of the parts I took off that have to be deep cleaned and polished. Oh, right there you can see that anchor point on the bottom where that motor is mounted. Again, adjusting this motor is a little bit more difficult and getting the right tension on that belt. Bobbin winding assembly. Again, the stitch length controller that is actually marked with a V and an R, which is in German. Those are the German equivalents. There's a raw spot right there with rust that I had to touch up and then re-clear coat. And again, you can look at these in more detail at your leisure. I'll put the link in the description for this live stream. Different touch up for the customer. Again, some of these things I do. There's a cute little character in the workshop. And there you can get, I'm going to stop here. Just again, my friend is so patient with me right now as he's arrived to help me out with a couple of machines. But again, think about where this machine started and where it's at now. Now when Mary comes in from Eastern Michigan, she's making a long trip in to pick up this machine along with a Husqvarna as well. She's going to be able to have a showpiece that she can take back with her. And it's going to be something that can stay in that family for generations. Where before, in the condition it was in, it would have ended up on the curb somewhere. So, at any rate, thanks again for joining me on a busy Saturday and for kind of celebrating the pilgrimage of this 1949 new home that, again, was made in Germany. And again, if you're able to join me tomorrow for a live stream, where we're going to kind of be going through the pictures that I took when I was in New York just a couple months after 9/11. I would certainly welcome the company on an early Sunday morning tomorrow. So take care, everybody. God bless you. See you soon. Oh, welcome. I didn't say Mindy. Welcome to Mindy from Las Vegas, Nevada, too. All right. Hope you can join me tomorrow morning to remember 9/11, the 21st anniversary. And again, my thanks to my buddy Ken for making the trip all the way up to the workshop so we can take team a couple of machines and he can show me some of his magic steps for making these machines well again. God bless everybody. Take care.